That'll do. All right, so habit 1 is probably just copious amounts of juice. I did a video on 5 habits I do as a nutritionist and an athlete, and it did pretty well with some nice feedback, so we're back for more. And you might ask, why are you in the forest? And to that I say, why aren't you in the forest? Like, go to the forest, okay? Get a quick pump. That's why you go to the forest. Okay. What do I got for number 1 here? Oh yeah, warm up properly. Oh, that's an issue. Warm up properly. Like whenever I go to the track, there's of course people who also take athletics seriously, but it's the people who just like come in and, you know, maybe just want to do some faster running for fun, which is absolutely fine, I'm all for it, but it pains me to see them not warming up properly. It's like you're going to be in a wheelchair in approximately 10 minutes. Particularly on the colder days, people just show up and do some static stretching and then get into like fast 400s or something. And it's quite problematic because for one, static stretching is actually going to sap a little bit of power acutely out of your muscle if you do it right before, say, sprinting. And additionally, it's not really that effective as actually loosening up the muscle and activating it for the work that has to be done. If you like stretch right before you jog and then just jog and, you know, work up a sweat maybe and then stretch again, you'll notice how powerful actually getting hot and warming up the muscle tissue is for actual mobility. People don't really understand that. I think before you really get into like a hard session, particularly if you're training outdoors, you should aim to be like borderline sweating before you take off your hoodie and your sweatpants. Like even on a not even that cold of a day, I'll show up there in a beanie and like 2 jackets, dude. like you want to be hot to get the most out of your session. There's a bit of a mentality sometimes with like, oh man, just tough it out, you know. It'll make you tougher as an athlete if you just train in the cold. Yeah, maybe, but if you're trying to be a better athlete, why don't you just get more out of your session by warming up, okay? Why didn't you just bring a chair? Oh, I'll concede. My second habit is the 1 to 4 rule. So if you're fading out prematurely towards the end of your training sessions, it's probably going to be this. So you want to have 1 to 4 servings of chicken, broccoli, and rice. No, I'm kidding. Don't follow that bodybuilder diet, okay? It's so lacking, okay? No, the 1 to 4 rule, I kind of call it that, is 1 to 4 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight in the time 1 to 4 hours before your training, okay? So if you're 80 kilos, it's gonna mean 80 to 320 grams of carbs. And of course, it's gonna scale with how big the session is, of course, but a good rule to follow is just like maybe have a big meal, you know, 4 hours out, just a standard meal, maybe it's your lunch or whatever. And then maybe just an hour before, have like a carb-based snack. This will sort you out pretty well. If you want to check how much is actually going to fit in that 1 to 4 range, you can just throw a meal into Chronometer to check it out. But like the lower end, if you're 80 kilos, 80 grams is going to be about like a banana and maybe a standard serving of oatmeal. Habit 3 is actually binge watching for about 2 to 3 hours a day of Sigma grind set videos. I find these very helpful. No, don't get lost in those. But number 3 is keeping track of what you've actually done with training in the last, you know, maybe you just keep a little diary of the things and exercises you did. It's up to you how meticulous you want to be, but the benefit of this, and I don't think people understand this or do it enough, is if you really burst through a plateau, if you're stagnating, or if you get injured, you have a complete backlog, and it can make it a lot easier to pinpoint, you know, what worked or what caused you to get injured, what led to maybe a few issues. And I think this is really powerful because if you've had like an injury creep up on you over the course of like a few weeks, it might be hard to know when it actually kind of really strikes and you're like, how did this happen? Okay. And if you have a backlog, this will prevent this from just happening a second time, right? If you are enjoying, please consider liking and subscribing. It's free and I'd love to have you on board. But habit 4 is to do with sleep. Of course, with sleep, total hours slept is always going to be king. And it can be a little bit confusing trying to manage your sleep health, what's working, what's not. But here's a few things that I think will help you out. One thing that can impede a little bit on sleep quality and your ability to get to sleep is if you've had a meal right before eating. Now, if you've gotten in late and you're very hungry, I do still recommend eating maybe something more carb-based because this will impede less on your sleep than something that's fat or protein-based will. Another point is if you find it kind of annoying to have to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, this is your kidneys at work, okay? They'll filter out your blood and end up with all these urine in your bladder, which you gotta get rid of in the middle of the night, which can be annoying. So a workaround is, well, you could either just, not drink in the hour leading up to bed. Alternatively, the way your kidneys work is if there's a massive change in osmolarity, or say concentration of things in your blood, then it's going to filter out. So if you chug a lot of water, you're going to need to use the bathroom rather quickly, and you can kind of circumvent this by just sipping water in the maybe 2 hours leading into bed, and this will really reduce the chances of you having to get up. And another couple ones, a cool room always helps, and additionally, if you have a fan, that can also, well, for one, cool you down and drown out some of the background noise, make it a bit quieter. And habit 5 is also very misunderstood. It's to do with rest days, okay? And some people don't want to take their rest days. That used to be me, absolutely, okay? But the more you progress, you're going to realize that you're doing a lot of the progress when you're actually just recovering, which makes your rest days really important. If you're going 7 days a week with no rest every week, I'd question if you're actually doing enough training volume. And lastly, as I said, if you're doing most of your recovering and your growth on your rest day, which is usually how training works, the stimulus is the training, everything else is recovery and growth. Just be careful to not sabotage this day with, bad sleep and maybe a late night out and drinking. Use this day to actually make some progress and maybe just focus on some other things. So that's been me. I'm going to vacate the forest. Yeah, if you haven't seen the first video, it's right there. I talked a little bit about carbs here. There's a full video on it there, so check those two out. If you did enjoy, again, please consider liking and subscribing, but otherwise, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.